Welcome to the 5 ways that you are blocking your feminine flow. Before we get started, I want you to go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit that little notification bell. So that way, whenever I am releasing new content, you are informed. Because we are going to be talking about a lot of different things that have to do with our own natural ability to be in a flow of femininity. I have found this to be one of the most challenging journeys because I can clearly reflect back on parts of my life, many and most areas of my life that had been hyper masculinized, meaning there are reasons why women are a lot more masculine these days. And honestly, like we were raised in a very masculine society. It is about productivity and what you are accomplishing and all of this measuring up of who you are based on what you've accomplished. Your value, your worth is determined by how much you can get done. And then whatever shows up in your life as a direct reflection of what you have accomplished. And so this is a very strong masculine framework for life to feel that I'm measured and my worth and my value is all determined by what I'm able to pump out of myself, like what I can churn and pump out of my energy, able to what I'm able to show as proof of who I am, the evidence of my life that proves who I am. And this is where we as women, I feel like, get caught up in a rip current of stuff because I believe that we want to have equal power. We want to have, and well, we deserve equal power. That's not even I want. We deserve equal power, meaning we deserve an equal ground to stand on just as much as the masculine. The feminine deserves just as much place in this world as the masculine does, and then splitting the energetics between masculine and feminine. But if it's like we have been masculine, like if we were to look at the scales, like feminine is like weighing in a very small amount and the masculine is very heavy. And so I want to talk about 5 different ways that this is actually showing up in your life where you may be not realizing you're taking yourself out of a feminine flow or you are blocked from holding a feminine flow within your body. And this is going to be a lot of embodiment stuff and that is actually what I'm going to be talking about throughout quite a few videos is the embodiment piece because I think that it's also very difficult to actually understand just how embodied you are because we all have our minds that are generating these thoughts, right? So it's like you could agree with something. If somebody says like, well, you're worth all of this. And like, let's say you run a business, right? And you really have been wanting to raise your prices because you feel like, I've reached a level in my business where I feel very secure in the transformation that I'm offering. I feel very solid in the delivery of my services, the transformation of what is occurring in my clients' lives. And, to create more time and space in my world, I'm going to raise my prices. And this is the lifestyle I'm creating, right? Like being okay with that. And then you have maybe some difficulty raising those prices because you feel like you don't want to upset anybody. You don't want to disappoint anybody. You don't want anybody to be upset with you or not like you anymore or extract themselves from your world because of the changes that you're making that reflect your level of mastery. And somebody will come along and they're going to say to you, but you're worth it. You're so worth this. And you're going to think to yourself, I am worth this. But then there's this disconnect between what is happening in your brain and what is happening in your body. So the idea and the mentality of, yes, I am worth this. I'm worth raising my prices versus all of a sudden you've got like this knot in your stomach. You feel maybe some heart flutters because it feels a little overwhelming and it feels like, what if they don't pay? What if they don't show up? What if they don't like me anymore? And then all of a sudden this tension starts showing up in your body. This is actually showing you what you have been embodying. And it shows you where there is a gap between where you have been embodying the mindset of your true and actual belief, your true and actual identity versus the identity that you are really wanting to lock into. And that has to be embodied. It can't just be living up here. It can't just be a vision board. It can't just be these ideas that I have about my worth if it's not landing in your body. Okay. So it's really important for us to have this conversation because this actually happened to me. Like full transparency. I actually did go through all of that where I knew I wanted to raise my prices. There were going to be some services that I was going to be eliminating from my business. I had been in business I've been doing the work that I do. It's been on an evolutionary course for several years, but to be charging what I had been charging years ago just doesn't even make sense anymore based on my skill set, based on the transformation and experiences that my clients are having. And so ideologically, I knew that it was time in a business brain way, like, yes, Renee, it's time to raise your prices. It's time to create more, life freedom for yourself where you're actually doing what you want to do and charging more will give you that opportunity because then I can see less clients and take more time with my family and doing things that really light me up. But there was a massive disconnect. I really struggled to embody that I was worthy of this. Okay. And I had a lot of fears about that. So this is just a really great example of how this can show up. But this can show up in such a wide variety of different ways. This is just one way that it can show up. Okay. So we're going to go over those 5 things and you will see me periodically looking down because I wrote down a lot of notes and I don't want to miss anything. But what we as women and men too, like men have a feminine side, they just might not have tapped into it as much. And more women are desiring to tap into their feminine side because they're realizing that they're doing life in this kind of like ass backwards kind of way where it's like, I'm busy, 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 busy. I actually want to be able to just rest. I want to be able to just fantasize, journal, read, paint, like it's not all about productivity is my point. The feminine flow is not really about getting things done and being productive and being able to showcase all of your hard work as evidence that you're worthy to be of a different status. So it's just very interesting because a lot of these systems are crumbling down and more women are waking up to say like, I desire a flowing experience in my life. I desire this feminine embodiment piece in my life. I want to hold this energy in my body. But there is a gap. There is probably a gap. So it's not that the gap is bad. The gap is like we get to observe the gap. We get to actually look at it and be like, okay, so this is the piece where there's like this little void and I get to fill that in. I get to create a bridge from one place that I've been living into a new place that I've been living in my own body. Okay. And we've never really been taught embodiment. We've never been taught the importance of our feminine embodiment because that would have taken us away from our productivity. Okay. But what I have found in my business is that, I've been in business now for over 5.5 years. It's kind of crazy, but I've been in business for over 5.5 years. And in these years, I realized how important the embodiment piece is. Building a business, you have your mind is going in all of these directions about what I need to do and the systems I need to set up and what I have to prepare for and how I'm going to serve and marketing and transactions and all of these different things, right? But when do we take time for ourselves? When do we actually give back to ourselves? When do we replenish and refill and rejuvenate ourselves so that we can go back out there and do those things? Your life cannot simply be go, 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 and there's not a consequence to that. And you've probably realized that, there is a consequence to go, go because there's burnout, there's exhaustion, there's, projecting negative emotions and thoughts onto other people because you're feeling very weighed down and frustrated by the things that are happening in your life that feel completely out of your control now because you've set up the systems to be hypermasculine. So let's just observe where you could be blocking this and like how it's being blocked, why it could be being blocked. And then having that awareness of what's being blocked actually gives you the power to make some really strong dynamic shifts for yourself. Okay. So number one that I felt was really important is the tightness in our body. So I'm going to go through 5 of these. The first one is the tightness in your body. Man, we've got it. Just what I would love for you to do right now is just pause, take a moment to yourself, take a couple of deep breaths. And I just want you to kind of like clear your mind. Where am I feeling tension in my body? Where am I feeling that tension in my body? That tightness that shows up. It could be even first thing in the morning, like you could be waking up with tightness in your neck and your shoulders, feeling like your jaw is like in your ears almost, like it's not soft. It's not like just, oh, okay. My muscles feel very relaxed. My mind and my body are in unison with each other. Like, no, that is, that is not what's happening. What's actually happening is you are bracing for life. All of this tightness, all of this tension, these are clues that you are bracing for the experiences of your life. And what that tells me is that you feel out of control about different circumstances within your life. There are things within your life that make you feel like you don't have the right to say what you want to say, be who you want to be, go where you want to go, have what you want to have, whether it be just be like creating more harmonious and more creative, playful endeavors for yourself, or being able to step back, step away, take time for me, being able to maybe pivot some things in my life and my business to reflect the different transformations that I can feel myself going through. But it's like when you have that knot in your stomach, there's tightness in your hips, in your back, in your neck, in your jaw, everything feels just like tight. That tells me that you're bracing for life. And so we want to try to get the body to respond to life a little differently. And there are ways that we can do that. Meditation, yoga, journaling, but it is going to require you to be really honest with yourself about, because there's going to be some accountability in this. Okay. You did not get to where you are in your life based on everything happening to you, right? Like, we're not going to step into any level of victimization in any of this. I don't do victimization. It's like you can have that time to feel your emotions if this frustrates you, overwhelms you, upsets you in any way. But to victimize yourself is not going to help you move this energy forward. Okay. So this is also about accountability and recognizing the things that you may have taken on in your life that are not suitable for you anymore, ways that you're living your life that you've decided they're not working. Things are not working the way that you want them to. And so we've got to kind of realign the physical mechanics, honestly, to really embody the peace, the stillness, the present, the light, the love, the safety. Because if you're bracing for life, that's like bracing for impact. You feel that your life is having a negative impact on you. So that needs to be shifted if you want more feminine embodiment. Number two, can't handle slowing down or the stillness. This, I can remember years ago. I've actually gotten so much better with this. So much better. Like they're all like, I'm just celebrating that I have been in that hypermasculine way. I have been in the go-getter, hustle, go, 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 do, 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 I'll sleep when I'm dead kind of energy. And I'm just so grateful that I'm not there anymore because it took so much from me and it drained me. And so what would happen was I would go through a whole day of doing things and then it would get to the point where it was time to like stop, slow down, take care of yourself, self-nourish, and I would immediately start thinking of new things to do. Oh, I should probably get the laundry going. Oh, I've got to make sure that, this is ready for tomorrow. Oh, I have to check this. Oh, I should work on my business a little more. Just like constantly taking myself out of my body, out of the space of now and here and presence and stillness and breath. Allowing my breath to just be my internal guide, allowing my heart to open to endless possibilities and my brain hyper focused on what negative consequence could happen if I'm not on top of everything all of the time. And so, what this looks like for you, if you are somebody who feels like you can't handle the silence, you can't handle the stillness, every time you have a moment to like yourself to sit down and eat or read or, do something that is purely for you and not the mindless distractions, not the needless scrolling and creating busy work for yourself so that you stay productive. This means that in some way, maybe laziness is a trigger for you, but really asking yourself, like, is this actually lazy? Is this being lazy? Because trust me, I've seen lazy. And I don't really believe that you taking time for yourself and slowing down and appreciating things is lazy. It is actually self-care and it is absolutely necessary. Okay. So I don't think that you should have to wait for, if you're somebody who has quarterly spa days, or maybe you have monthly massages or facials or different things that, support body work and stress relief and, that do support your self-care. I think you need to do this every single day. Okay. Even if it is 15 minutes, if you can get in like 45 minutes to an hour or 90 minutes, I think this is going to be the best thing for you. Truly, to just be able to sit in your own energy, breathe, feel your body, figure out where the tension is coming from, and allowing your soul to speak through you instead of the busyness of your mind. Because what you're really desiring is inner peace and inner security and stability. And then your mind is taking you in a million different directions, letting you know that it's not safe for you to sit in the calm, sit in the peace, sit in the stillness, because something terrible might happen if you do that. This is where we get to bridge that gap. Why do you think that? And you have to ask yourself, why do I feel that if I take time for myself to really rest and replenish, even if it's for 15 minutes or an hour and a half, why do I fear that these negative consequences would be there to punish me for taking this time for myself? Where does this come from? Why is this living inside my body? Okay. Number 3, over explaining yourself. Yeah. Do you ever have somebody invite you to something and you're like, I did that, And maybe you made plans. Maybe you already said yes. And then by the time that day came, maybe you had a headache. Maybe you just weren't feeling up to it. Maybe there was something else that came up that you'd rather do that felt a lot better for you. And so you decided that you'd rather put your energy and time into that. Whatever it is, it's your decision, right? Like, you can do whatever you want. Let's say you just don't want to do it. You want to stay home and you want to be on the couch watching, you know, your favorite show. Who cares? Who cares? But what happens to us is that we struggle with our own inner authority. And then when you are relaying the information to the person about, sorry, have to cancel my plans with you, something came up, or just really feel like it's not an alignment for me right now. This isn't something that my body actually wants to do. And that has been something that has happened to me many times, where it was like all of a sudden that day came and my body was like, no, just no, it's not happening. And then wanting to convey to that person that I'm so sorry to disappoint you, but my plans are shifting. And then what happens is you end up going into all of these different reasons and you go down a million different pathways, because deep down it's like you feel like you have to keep editing your experience so that way it is acceptable to the other person. And that means that you're not really in your full agency. You're not really understanding your own authority here. That if I decide to do something different, or if I decide to do nothing at all, like, that's perfectly okay for me. But we want to over-explain our boundaries. We want to over-explain our feelings. We want to over-explain these opinions and these feelings and these experiences and these frustrations that we have, because we don't want to be misinterpreted. We don't want to be taken the wrong way. We don't want to be not liked. We don't want to be abandoned. We don't want it to reflect something negative about who we are. But the thing is that authentic power is actually very quiet. It doesn't need a long drawn out explanation. Even if, and you know what I find the most interesting about this is that usually when we are over explaining ourselves, like why we did something, why we didn't do something, why we chose something, whatever, they're not even asking. They're not even asking for this over explanation of why. We feel like we have to give all of these reasons. It's not just a no, thank you. It's a no, thanks for asking, but, and the reason why is, and then we have to go into all of these different reasons that honestly, they don't need to know all of that. And you don't have to over explain all of that. Okay. So this is where you get to ask yourself, why do I feel like it's so important for me to over explain everything? Why do I feel like I have to justify my boundaries, justify my choices, justify and validate, what I need for myself? Who required this of you? Whether it be in your younger years, in your current life, maybe a boss, maybe your partner, maybe a sibling, maybe a friend, maybe a parent. Still, like, these things can still be going on. They could have started in childhood, but you could have also developed some relationships in life that because you didn't break the pattern in a younger age, you're still kind of perpetuating this inner child situation, which we can completely break that up, like, totally, and shift it into, what can I say to get the point across in a kind and compassionate way, right? Like, I don't have to be an asshole, but I can say it in a kind way, get my point across, and be done with it. Be solid in myself. I said what I needed to say. I feel good about that. And now I'm moving on. Number 4, constant self monitoring. I would say that, especially as an empath, this has been a very significant piece of my own life and me really working on that, because we feel like we can feel how other people see us because we can feel other people. And so each of us empaths, intuitives, psychics, we all experience energy a little bit differently, right? So you might be able to really tune into somebody's emotional energy. This is something that I am really, really good at. Like, I can read the room real quick. And therefore, that has also been like this gift of being able to read the emotional energy, being able to read the thought-based energy, the mental energy as well. It's a wonderful thing that I am able to utilize to maybe shift energy, maybe protect my energy, maybe get away from that energy. But also, what happens in the process is that I become very aware of how people are feeling. And that makes me overly monitoring myself. If I know that somebody is not having a great day, I'm completely different in how I speak and what I say. My posture, like, and so it's basically just reflecting back into the room what you're feeling. So if I walk into a space and I know that there are people that are upset, they're stressed out, they're overwhelmed, I will completely change myself. I mean, I don't do that anymore, actually. This is not something I do anymore. And it was brought to my attention that somebody noticed, oh, you're not responding to the energy in a way that you're taking on the responsibility of it. And I said, no, because it's not my responsibility. I would love to help. I would love to be of service, but I'm not making it mine and I'm not making it my responsibility because it's not. So I'm not going to change who I am in this dynamic to make other people feel better. Like, I am who I am. It is what it is. And everybody's going to have to deal with that. Just like they have to deal with their problems and I have to deal with my problems. I'm not going to take that on to make other people feel better. But in this whole process, before you kind of have that breakthrough, it can feel very much like you are very tuned into their cadence, their body language, their emotions, their thoughts, their expectations, different things like that. And so what you're doing is, like, just pay attention to how you go through your day. Where do you feel like you're self-monitoring at home? Maybe not saying certain things, maybe not being more verbal and vocal about things that you are wanting to be about, right? Like setting maybe very specific boundaries for yourself. What happens when you get to work? How do you monitor yourself there around different people? How do you monitor yourself during a work meeting? How do you monitor yourself on vacation? Like, really, and pay attention to that one because that's actually really good. If you are on vacation and you're just kind of like, I feel so free. I am just letting it all be. And whatever I say, whatever I do, like, I just trust that it's all going to be the right thing because I feel really, really balanced right now. And I feel really authentic and free. Like, what changes when you're not on vacation? What changes in your life where you feel like you have to become a different person and then monitor this person endlessly to make sure that you're fitting all of the criteria of what people are needing from you? Number 5, this one's a big one, and it's probably my favorite because this one actually helped me to reestablish a lot of things that I was disconnected from within my femininity. Disconnecting from your sensual nature. This is huge. We live in a world where we are just very, very busy. Our society, our culture, like, we are just go and go and do and do. And again, productivity, accomplishments. What am I getting done? What can I show for it? How does this measure me? How am I elevating my status, whether it be through money, through, how I play these different roles, how people see me, how, I advance in my career, how I'm respected by other people. Your whole world is based on senses. And I think this is also what was very overwhelming for me too, because I do find intuition to be the sixth sense, but the smell, like actually taking moment, especially in those times of the stillness, if you could light a candle that smells really, really good, or diffuse some beautiful essential oils like lavender and chamomile and lemongrass and frankincense, like just different things. I love patchouli. You either love it or you hate it. Patchouli is very, very, very grounding for me, very calming for me. If I'm having kind of a chaotic or stressful or anxious, overstimulating kind of day, patchouli is the way that just grounds me in my senses. But what we've disconnected from are our senses, like to really taste our food, to really enjoy what we're putting in our mouth and in our body, whether it be a piece of fruit or a decadent dessert or, a really lovely wine or even just like a yummy coffee drink. Like there's so many different things that we are encountering every moment of every day, like every moment of every single day. Even when you're sleeping, like the texture of your blankets and your sheets and your pillow and the way your home feels, the ambiance, the way it smells, the way it feels. And then being able to appreciate that kind of energy everywhere you go, like taking your time to appreciate things. We have our gardenia bush is gonna be blooming soon, and so, like, that really excites me because I know that when they start blooming, it's a really good sized bush, and so that fragrance is just gonna completely take over the front side of my house, and when I go out in the morning, it's gonna be the first thing I smell, and, it just helps me set a tone for the day. And so textures, meaning like the soft, the smooth, like really being able to describe these things to yourself as well. How does your shower feel or your bath? How much do you enjoy eating your breakfast in the morning? How much do you enjoy sharing dinner with your family at night? Why? The textures of your food, the textures of life, the shapes, the colors, the smells, and then again, like the ambiance, what you see and the sunrise, the sunset, the stars at night, like really pausing, moving through life with more intentionality, with more deliberateness, purposeful of this is my life. This is my body. I have the gift of being able to see, taste, smell, touch, hear, and sense, feel like intuitively, empathically, like connect with my entire world, the entire environment and ecosystem that is around me wherever I go. I have a connection to that because there is nothing separate. And I believe that the living world that wants to connect with us is a way that God and Goddess show up in our lives to help us get back to our center, to appreciate, to pause, to slow down, to feel, to sense, to really just be so engaging in the everyday journey of being human. And that is something that we have not learned how to do, not since you were a small child, probably, where it was like you were learning words and you were learning how to connect with this world around you that didn't have labels or roles or distinctions to it yet, where you could now smell a flower. And so maybe your mom showed you a flower as a little girl, and it was like, this is a red rose, smell. And you smelled it and you were like, oh my gosh, that smells so good. And you could touch the velvety petals of the rose or the flower, whatever it is. And then feeling the blades of grass, feeling the morning dew on the blades of grass, watching the clouds drift in the sky and seeing them taking on the shapes of angel wings and dragons and such, really taking your time with your food and enjoying each flavor that shows up on your palate, really taking the time to appreciate your ability to connect with life, the living, breathing organism that is this planet and that is you, the microcosm and the microcosm. The microcosm and the microcosm. And so everything is interconnected. And I find that when you are in this feminine flow and you're able to access the sensory world and you're not really monitoring yourself and how you show up because you know that you can trust you're going to show up in the best way because You are your authority and you own your agency. Not feeling like you have to be explaining and explaining and explaining everything that you do and why, because my answer is my answer and that is good enough. And if somebody else has a problem with that, then they have like their own issues of needing excessive information to feel safe within themselves. And that's not a job that you have to take on. Embracing the stillness, the slowness. I understand that there are areas of life that are very fast paced. I understand that completely. I have children, I have a family, I have a house, I have a business, I have clients, I have so many different things going on. But there is no excuse to not take time for myself to replenish and recover and rejuvenate my spirit, my heart, my mind, my soul. Okay. And then allowing the body to relax, finding that tension, breathing, stretching, allowing myself to feel the muscles, my spine, where the stretches are harder, where the stretches are easier, but embracing the entirety of my body, my energy field, my heart, mind, spirit, and soul all together in one. So when we start to really unlock these pieces, I think this is where we start to find a really beautiful, energetic flow of energy. We start to be much better at the receiving part because we're not constantly trying to go and do and provide. We're actually allowing things to show up for ourselves as well and being kind of like a feather on the wind, a bob on the waves. That does not mean that you don't get things done. That does not mean that everything falls apart and unravels because you've taken your hands off the wheel. It's time to develop more self-trust and self-agency so that you know that you can step away to take care of yourself and that the world is not going to fall apart without you because honestly, it won't. So please leave comments if there was something particular within this video that resonated with you. Which one of these five do you feel like has been the most challenging for you? Where can you feel maybe some of these starting to shift for you, or that maybe you were able to kind of transmute that or transcend that altogether? I would love to hear from you. Don't forget to follow. Don't forget to hit those notifications so that you know when that next video is showing up. Have a great day.